What's going on, everybody? How are we? How are we doing today? Let's see. Milet. I think some of y'all been sending me messages about one-on-ones and what is it? One-on-ones and one-on-ones and um Slack. You find the words. JB, what's going on? More time. T Nicole, Shay, how you doing out there? Code and Evelyn, how you doing? Ernest, happy to see you out here in these tech streets. We got a action packed show today. We're gonna start. Nah, no freeze. We're gonna start with if it froze, it's because I paused. Like it froze again. It's just me. All right. So let me do this first. Let me do this now. Okay. See who gets gifts this week. Sent out 5 gifts. Should be good to go. So I hope everybody's week's been great. We're gonna start off with my famous, and that's Tam's thoughts. I know no one wants to hear your thoughts, but I figured since you come to the show, you want to hear my thoughts. All right, so Tam's random thoughts. So things I got topics on. I got articles and videos on this and stuff as well too. So I was going through having a discussion just in general about um what what does it mean to be humble, and what does it mean for someone to humble you, right? So let's start with a just definition of humble. All right. um Humble, having or showing a modest or low estimate of one's own importance. um and it says now the second definition of low social, administrative, or a political rank. And then it says the verb of it is lower someone in dignity or importance. I knew he had humbled himself to ask for my help. Right? Humble, right? And the reason why I bring this up is oftentimes what I see is, and this is just my thoughts, nobody else's. This is not a reflection of everybody in Women in Linux. This is just my thoughts. Often I see is you have to humble yourself in order to be in rooms where, let me say it this way, it is a perceived notion that you have to humble yourself in order to be in certain rooms, right? And if you don't humble yourself, um, when you're in said room, you can come across as, the word is not intimidating as the word is, or the phrase should be, you don't fit in because you hadn't humbled yourself, right? And oftentimes in said room, those folks are not humble at all. In fact, they're more arrogant and dismissive in those rooms than they are humble. But yet, the expectation for you is to be humbled or know your place. And I often hear this notion not from just others, but from us, from our from our said camaraderie. So our said friendships, our said friends, our said co-workers, our said X, Y, and Z. And I got to thinking about this and how it develops and plays out throughout your career and throughout your life. What you do in your career also affects your life outside of work, whether you want to believe that or not. So it often plays and shows up when you enter into rooms and you're like, what how do I not necessarily fit in, how do I navigate this room? And I often see times where we get in rooms and we don't know how to navigate. We freeze up. We freeze up and we don't know what to do next. Because I think been you have been indoctrinated and believe that's what you're supposed to do. And I'm just on the other end. So you don't have to take my word and do what I say. I'm all about smashing doors, kicking in teeth, and I'll take names later. That's just me. I don't know. That's just me. Glozy, shout out to you for five women in Linux memberships. For those that got some memberships there, we see you. See you out there. Randy K, Leslie K, Bo 564, Kevin G. We see y'all out there. And the other part of this humbling experience also shows up when you interview. It shows up when you have ideas. It shows up when you are in meetings talking. It also shows up in how you handle friendships, how you handle forming friendships, and how you handle, just in general, how you handle life, right? It is amazing to me that we are still at this juncture where you can't be yourself in fear that you're going to hurt someone else's feelings when they don't care about hurting yours. Vicky Albright, you say, hello, I really like to hear about your experiences in the workplace. Your experience in soft skills is something we like to hear in general. Thank you. I don't know if it's soft skills versus at some point you get tired of why do you know what I'm saying? Like I always in my mind, I always hear Ice Cube, bow down. That's all I hear in my mind when I'm having these conversations is I gotta bow down. Just got approved for the VRE through VA trying to go the tech route. They're paying for my BS in IT. Congratulations. Can you give me other suggestions on certs to put with it? They will pay for everything that you want to take, everything that you want to go for it. And it's funny that you mentioned this because we're going to have a lot of conversations today around um, career, around life and trajectory of said career. But to answer your question immediately, because I don't want you to wait till I get to it, to answer your question immediately, um, we all see the whole situation with AI, but it's also how do you show up with your skills? I'm always going to tell you all infrastructure. I'm just an infrastructure girl. Um, you can't have AI without infrastructure. So I'm gonna always steer you towards that. So anything that's based on infrastructure is something that I would tell you to look into. Whether it be OpenShift, and I did a whole show on this. I need to put the recording up from the Wednesday night class on the whole just Linux background history, the products, the how these things play out, rolling your skill set up the tech stack, and what that looks like. So I'm gonna tell you anything infrastructure, but that may not be your thing. So that's why I always tell you guys go take all the free classes that you want out there so you can figure out what it is that you actually like. Do the free stuff. So I would tell you go down the path of Linux. But if you want to take the RH024, try that first. If you want to get in to find out what OpenShift is about, I believe there's a D0080 or D080 class that you could take. May not be for you, but again, give it a shot. See if you like it. What are my thoughts on those? Why am I telling you those things? Is because those things are still relevant. They're still going to be around for the next 5 years. People are ramping up. People are moving off of VMs. Some still have VMs, but people are still moving to Kubernetes. People are moving things faster. They're still doing all these said things. I was just going over some topics about do people think GitOps is dead? I think it's just a natural thing. If you're a Linux admin, you're gonna fall into GitOps if you ask me. But that's just my immediate thoughts for that. I don't know what the BS in IT covers. I have no idea. You should look at that curriculum and see does that curriculum line up with what you see going on out here today, and go look at some job descriptions after that and see what it says. Yep, you say whatever I'm doing in Linux, you want to do it as well. Yep, come on through. Yep, and it's no what I'm doing in Linux. Where's my? Let me think for a second here. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out where I can go get a um thing. Give me 1 second to think about this. Uh, Hold on. I'm trying to see if I can find it. If not, I'll have to download it because I don't see it off my immediate search here. Yeah, I don't see it after my immediate search. It is in the. I have to log in and get it. Hold on. I have to log in and get it. Give me 1 second. Let me log in. And there's a whole video that I gotta upload that pertains to this from when we did the class, the Wednesday night class. I talked about this, but it's no big deal to bring it back up. But I just want to give you a visual, so you can take that with you. Let me see. Oh, yeah, right here. And then let me launch this, and then I'll go through the class. It's got to load. Hold on. All right. So I have it here. Let me come down to here, and then we'll come over to here. All right. So In the class, I talked about this here. Red Hat portfolio. I talked about this. Maybe that make it too big, but we're about to find out. Yeah, there we go right there. Okay, so in the class, I talked about um, starting off. I mean, you could look at it as help desk and the infrastructure, but whatever. Starting off with the infrastructure or the actual physical hardware. Down here, you see AWS, Azure, so forth and so on. IBM, Intel, which the government is buying 10% into Intel, and I'm going to talk about that this morning. They're buying 10% of Intel, and then Samsung is hopping in on that as well too, to partner with Intel on this. So it's a lot of things going on that we got to talk about. But as you see here, we got bare metal, right? And then at bare metal, you have at the infrastructure level, you have bare metal, virtual, private cloud, public cloud, and edge, right? And then as you start developing your skills on that infrastructure, you have to have an operating system. It could be Windows, it could be something else, but in this case, we're talking about Linux. And then here, these are operational foundational skills: your Red Hat, Ansible automation, and then your satellite, um, your RHCE, your RHCSA, and I forget which test exam this is for the satellite server. But just being right here in this little section right here could last you at least 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years, just in this little piece right here. Then you move up to the next level, right? Where we start talking about application foundation, meaning Kubernetes. What can I deploy? What is my platform that I'm going to deploy my applications on? Hence the word platform engineering. And so now you have OpenShift, but you can also have OpenShift with OpenStack, right? And now they're talking about Red Hat application foundations, but I know most people that use Red Hat OpenShift. I don't know about Red Hat application foundations. I don't know, there may be a class. I don't know. I have to look into it. I just don't know right now. Right. Thank you, Heather EX403. Thank you. Right. And then we move up a layer. But this layer right here comes like most people are not in this layer here. It's one of the it's a hidden gem to be in, because this layer right here requires you to know this side of the house and this side of the house. What I'm saying is you have Red Hat Enterprise AI and Red Hat OpenShift. Now we're starting to take off with AI models, LLMs, so forth and so on. But they're just LLMs do nothing by themselves, right? They do nothing by themselves, right? They have to have some OS, some hardware, something on them, something that they live on in order to drive them. But this is what we're seeing the takeoff right now. We're seeing the takeoff of middleware. If you ever wanted to know where these LLMs fall into place, and then we go one level up, our next level. How do we manage all of this? How do we manage all of this? So if you look at your career, just in general, right? You can go from working with physical hardware, whether you're in a data center, or whether you are deploying to a private cloud, or you're building edge nodes. And then those edge nodes need some type of operating system, some type of way to automate those deployments, and then some type of platform to put on. And now we see the entrance of middleware, and we're always going to have managed. Now you could be an environment where you don't have this middleware at all, where you can have just managing all of this without having AI. Does this make sense to everybody? I hope it makes sense. All right, let me get back over here so I can read. Um, so you say you're currently working at NG. You have an intern clearance, waiting on my hard secret, and also my SAP. Good, 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 good. Um, it's refreshing to be in the space with you guys. Just love the game. You're dropping us. You're welcome, Warren. Okay, you see now? Cool. Right. So again, I'm just giving you all like, hey, as you move up the ladder, this is what happens. Right. So now we could take this product. This is just a Red Hat product overview. I'm not specifying anything on here. I am just laying out career trajectory from this. That's all I'm doing. I'm just showing you could be in a you could be in an environment that does bare metal. You could be in an environment where they're building their own private cloud. You could be in an environment where they're doing private and public. You could be in an environment where they're only doing edge, drones, ships, rockets, um, with phones, tablets. You could be in those environments. That's all they do. You could also be in an environment where they're saying, hey, we want to migrate from a private cloud to a public cloud. Or they could be like, I want to have a private cloud, a public cloud, and edge. Or you could be where it's bare metal, virtual, private, public, and edge. You could be in all those things, right? So now the question becomes, uh, as you grow, where do you really want to be? And you're not going to find these things out until you try them. Red Hat has a whole slew of free classes that you could go try. There is a whole slew of classes on edx.org that you can try. And I'm only giving you this because a lot of you get sold the dream. And that dream is, if I just get the cert, then I don't have to worry about anything. And it's not just the cert that propels you, it's you that propels you. And when I say that, is how you show up. Remember, I was just talking about being humbled, right? You can show up humbled all you want. But if you got a team of arrogant people that are working, they're not going to be humble with you and how they deliver their message to you, how they deliver their ask to you. So you got to figure out how you fit in or you don't fit in. You either going to lay down and get steamrolled, or you going to stand up. And which one you got to figure out which one you're going to do, right? So you said it's RHCSA and then RHCE. You said, okay, I see. So which ones do you personally stay towards? The ones I stay towards is everything right here, moving into this here, and you don't need Red Hat AI and OpenShift AI for to do LLMs. And then here, right now, this is the current stack for everything minus this. This, I think you'll probably become more specialized when you start talking about middleware and how AI models and how to use them. Like, how you if you introduce your enterprise to an AI model, how do you use them, right? What's the use case, right? Everybody needs to have a use case. What are you going to do with that use case? How's that use case going to have an ROI? How it's going to drive anything? And so that's what you got to look at, right? Solid steps to wealth. Shout out to you, right? Um, there's another one here. Um, and it's on the hybrid cloud. I'll pull that up. Uh, maybe it's here. And so here is where they talk about with Red Hat Hybrid Cloud. And they just went into, again, I talked about this from a business perspective, right? I talked about this from a business perspective on the show Wednesday night. But here again, everything is the same. The ecosystem partners, the enterprise OS, the cloud native application platform, the app modernization with AI, how to get this right here is where it's going to drive your metrics. That's why it's right here. This is going to drive metrics, and then up here, this is where you're getting all your metrics out of this here. So again, this is driving that. That's what they're trying to show you there. And then here they just kind of break this down into what are the ecosystem partners here. I'll blow this up for you right here. Your APIs, your architecture, and this right here, your architecture is something that you guys got to really look at. Um, and then reducing risk and cost, and what does that look like? So I mean, I can go on for days on these topics. I try to leave them for Wednesday night though. But then this is that one, and then they just kind of went over like here just talking about each piece as you go along, all right? Each piece as you go along. Right. So again, they classified it. Let me go up here so you can get the real deal. So how we look at it is it's infrastructure, operational foundation, application foundation, app modernization, and then management. And that's what you look at. That's your career. You're gonna move up the stack that way. That's your career. Solid steps to wealth. Thank you for the $50. I guess tech tides we want to call it. And we'll go from there. Your question was, I have a question regarding data center commissioning and Linux. Well, what's the question? Like, how does Linux play in the data center? Ask AWS. Everything you're using is built on Linux. Their flavored down version of it. Let me see if I can find my thing. I was just looking at AWS right here. So it's a little cheat sheet on how you can break down AWS. Let me blow it up some. Right. So again, security and compliance, analytics, application integration, financial management, compute, database, developer tools, and network content and delivery and storage. Now, how does that fit into what we were just looking at? It fits back over here, right? We'll go back to the actual diagram, right? So AWS falls here with your bare metal, right? AWS also has that. AWS doesn't. It has operating systems that you can install on your EC2 instance, so that you can spin up on your EC2 instance. So there's an OS that gets spun up. You're not just spinning up a AWS. For the most part, most people aren't. You're not just spinning up an AWS machine, right? You're gonna end up bare metal machine. You're gonna end up spinning up an AWS actual machine, EC2 instance, right? That has some type of OS. And then you have to look at like, how do I monitor this OS? Like, how do I then take this OS and how do I manage these systems, right? How do I manage these systems? Right. So that's what you end up with. And that you just kind of go up the stack from here. So for the data centers, Linux is king. As far as OS, and that Linux could be Red Hat, it could be Ubuntu as well. It could be CentOS. It really depends on who it is. Right. All right. So let me look it up. I just want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly. Yeah, I'm answering it correctly. So here, what is data center commissioning right here? Make sure we answer your question correctly. Data center commissioning is a systematic process that ensures all data center systems and component, including servers, cooling, and power distribution units and backup systems, are designed, installed, tested, and operating as intended. Testing. That's what that sounds like to me. This procedure involves a comprehensive assessment of the infrastructure element from power and cooling systems to security and IT operations. All of that. That's all of that. So, uh, racking and stacking the same way, your cable alignment, your cooling, making sure you have enough power and cooling for those racks, testing that power and cooling, testing that rack, installing that operating system, the same over 15 machines, over 30 machines, over 100 machines, over 1,000 machines, updating that system, updating that rack, updating the BIOS, the whole nine. Even the power, even the PDUs that you have, they have firmware updates as well too. So making sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. All of that is part of this ecosystem of infrastructure. All of this is part of the, like I said, you could be on the side where you're racking and stacking, you could be on the side where you're managing, you could even be on the side where you're automating. There's infrastructure is so vast, it's just never going away. It's like the sweet spot to me without you being a plumber. Without you being a plumber. uh okay, you're welcome. All right, so I think you guys got the overview. Wednesday, I went a little bit deeper. Went a little bit deeper. All right, so amongst all my thoughts, as I was thinking, I was going through videos, and this one he's talking about the media is ignoring a black community under siege, and he's talking about um the actual tornado that happened in St. Louis. I have it up on the right browser so we can talk about it right quick. So let's get to it. I will get the RHCSA right after the Linux Plus. So let's go. Let me make this bigger and make sure my sound is up. Let me know if you all can hear this or not.
A tornado in St. Louis that devastated the area, and it has not had any news coverage greatly because, I mean, like, sadly, a lot of natural disasters. I have the pocket conspiracy theory that the media isn't covering natural disasters like they used to because there's so many because of global warming. They're treating natural disasters like they treat spree shootings because they don't want us to be engaged with with how climate catastrophe is already starting to affect things. North Carolina one got last year, got swept up very fast. Like, those people were in dire straits for months, and like nobody was talking about them. They were white. No, they were poor and white though, which is why they didn't give a fuck. So these black folks in St. Louis situation not happening. So we're gonna watch this, if not just to comment and give some shine on it, because I'm not myself fully aware of this story.
Ends its track. By 2:43 p.m., the twister has grown to nearly a mile wide. Businesses near North Kings Highway Boulevard and Del Mar taking a direct hit.
Dozens more injured after a tornado swept through St. Louis.
Rescue crews trying to save a man trapped in the basement.
The city admits the sirens did not sound.
About 5,000 properties were hit by the storm. A little girl tell her mom, "Mom, I want to go home." And the mom responded, "We don't have a home."
St. Louis has recently become an epicenter of the global climate collapse. The once-in-a-century tornado struck, inciting mass destruction and transforming this bustling black city into a real-life war zone.
My little baby on marketing and Dr. Marley King right now.
I know you're scared. Come here, baby. Hi. Oh my God.
Just a bad day all around. These people went through a lot.
Winds screamed at 152 miles per hour, carving a 23-mile scar across the city, shredding more than 5,000 structures, flattening entire blocks, and killing a still unconfirmed number of mostly black elders, and hundreds more people were displaced. The funnel followed the color line, obliterating predominantly black neighborhoods that the city had already starved for a century. In the immediate aftermath, there was local news coverage.
Do y'all understand how powerful a tornado has to be?
All right, so why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons. This gets into the topic of having your emergency fund, right? Skill sets. It gets into the topic of having proper insurance. It also gets into the topic of at some point you got to realize that you're going to have to fend for yourself. But if we're not in the position of being able to fend for ourselves, what does that look like, right? And I often think about these things and what does this look like? So much so, one of the things that I often bring up is, do you have insurance on yourself? Do you have insurance on the people that are around you? Do you have insurance on others that you know that you will eventually have to take care of? Why should you care about those things? Well, you should care about those things because those things affect your life, right? They affect your life where at the end of the day, at some point in time, you got to dip into your funds. You got to dip it into your money, right? And it just all goes back tying into being humble. So follow me. So you spend your time being humble and not getting paid what you're worth, or not ever seeing the money that you think you're supposed to see because you're too busy being humbled. You're too busy worried about what somebody else thinks of you or how somebody's going to categorize you or what have you. Well, you end up missing out on $100,000 here, $50,000 there, a sign-on bonus or whatever. And so I often think about not just this situation, but that situation could have been anywhere, right? Tornadoes are popping up anywhere now. So much so that they declared that the new tornado alley is the southeast. Funny that the new tornado alley is the southeast, where 56% of black people live in the southeast. But I'm a conspiracy theorist, whatever the case may be, right? Where majority of the wealth of black people that have wealth live in the southeast. But hey, who am I? Right? Could be something there, couldn't be anything there. Don't know. Right? But at the same token of thinking about all these things is, how prepared are you? Are you really prepared? Are you really prepared to take on getting more skill sets to get more money, being strategic with those skill sets? When I say strategic, being strategic about where you're going to go to work, being strategic about where you're going to go, because I always talk about this. Like I said before, it's cool to get 3%, 4%, 6% in your 401k. It's better if you can get 12, 15, 25 put into your 401k. And what do you have to do to go after those companies and have the skill set of those companies that you're looking at? A lot of y'all go into get into GovTech and you hear it, but you don't hear it. You guys go into looking at like, oh, I'm gonna get into a GS job, or I'm gonna go and get into a GovTech job, and I'm gonna go work at the NGs, the ball systems of Bay, or I'm gonna go work at on the federal side of HP or Dell, which they do have federal sides of HP and Dell, or the federal side of Palantir. But what you don't get into is you don't get into the benefits of those companies, how those benefit structures laid out, how are they contributing to your 401k outside of you, how are they helping you earn wealth and earn money as well too. It's I don't know if the article, if I brought it over or not. Let me look. Let me look real quick. Let me see. I don't think I brought it over. I might have. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Now I gotta go back and look and see what those articles were. Anyway, long story short, it was saying, the article was saying that the people who were working at Meta were jumping ship from Meta to other companies because they're offering more money. They're offering more money. So they're not leaving them $100 million sign-on bonuses on the table. They jumping ship. And I figured somebody was gonna jump ship at some point in time. You can't tell me that a company is offering you $100 million, and you're like, no, it's for the greater good, right? And so I full circle, I bring that up to say is, what skill sets do you have to help you prepare for a tornado like this? What skill sets do you have that will also lend you getting $100 million sign-on bonus? What skill sets and things are you putting in place so that you could get a piece of the pie, right? Like, you can't tell me. I don't care what nobody say. If somebody came and offered me $100 million for a sign-on bonus, I'm not humble nothing. I'm telling you, I'm not. I'm telling you, I'm not. And I know that sounds bad, but I'm not. I'm just not. We won't see 100. Most people won't see 100 million in their lifetime. And you think I'm gonna be humble? Be like, nah, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I did that shit. I did that. Now, that's not to say I'm not gonna give back, but you think I ain't gonna toot my own horn? Come on, like, it's what? When is it okay to toot your own horn? Let me know. JB, you said you started with data analysis this summer and want to make yourself marketable to GovTech openings. Hence, me working on getting my security. Like, yeah, right. You're not. There's no way you're gonna tell me that you make 100,000 that you ain't gonna. You're not 100 million. You ain't gonna be proud of yourself. You ain't gonna be like, man, I did that. Man, look, I went through the interview. I got it. I did that. In fact, they ain't even interviewing me. They just poach me and say, hey, yeah, offer what you thinking. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I know I'm not gonna be sitting on the sidelines like, well, if I get this, I gotta make sure that I humble myself. I'm not doing that. I'm telling you, I'm not. I am. I ain't gonna be home. I'm be excited. I'm be proud. I worked hard. Sleepless nights, sleepless days, interviews, all this time. Yeah. Why can't I be excited about it? All right. Next one up on Tameika's Saturday thoughts. I don't know if y'all seen this, if you've been paying attention, right? Have y'all been paying attention about the whole immigrants versus Americans type of thing? Have you been paying attention to Africans versus blacks or foundational blacks or FBA, whatever? I don't know if y'all been paying attention to that or paying attention to um a lot of immigrants saying that, hey, in particular black immigrants saying that, hey, we thought y'all were lazy, but now we didn't get taught your history. So now we understand what you've been going through, right? I don't know, have y'all been paying attention to that? Well, to further feed into the stereotype, this is I probably can't even show this. I could show the actual clip, the actual title. So the title is "What Immigrants Get About America That the Americans Don't," and this is a Dave Ramsey clip. I can't play the clip because Dave Ramsey and them, they'll shut you down, they'll freeze your thingy. But anyway, long story short, in here he's talking to a guy. I think he's from Ireland or something like that. But anyway, in this clip they talk about what Americans don't get. And he's sitting in a room full of people and they're talking about like how, we don't understand money, so forth and so on. I'll probably do a summary of this. I'll make sure I post this in the community wall. Let me do that now. So you guys can go take a look at it. But it's quite interesting to me because now we're starting into where people are looking at, well, maybe, just maybe, if you wouldn't do all these other things, people could get ahead, right? But it's just interesting to see how they speak. And when I say they speak, you'll understand what I'm talking about. when you go look at it. Let me go post this right now so you guys can have a look at it. Hold on. I'm posting it right now. Should be there right now. All right. So there you go. It's posted. Here's the hour-long clip of it right here. I'll post that one too. It's an hour-long clip of it. I posted just a short clip, but there is an hour-long clip. All right, so that's there. So take a look at it. All right, you talked about this. All right, so NFL executives are in crisis after Nike makes Shedeur Sanders the highest paid rookie in history. Again, being humble, right? Here's that. We're gonna humble you again, right? We all know what happened to Shedeur. Not everybody agrees that he should have went in the fifth round. Not everyone agrees that he should have been in the NFL at all. They didn't think he was NFL material. But again, the attempt to humble you, the attempt for you to be humbled, and you got to think who his daddy is. He's not humble, not on the field, not in the way that they think you're supposed to be. Some would say that he's arrogant. Some would say that he is he comes across as a know-it-all or what have you, right? But at the same token, is what are you what do you deem okay? What's okay for you? All right. And I think that's what you are gonna have to get used to in this industry. And let me caveat that with saying anything I'm talking about infrastructure, you're probably gonna be the only one in the room. You're probably gonna be the only one in the room. You're probably gonna be the only one in the team, and you'll probably be the first one on the team. I want to caveat that. Now you guys to ask yourself, do you belong there? Did you earn it? What do you need to do to move up to the next level? How can you be better than what you was the day before? And of course, this conversation can be on the other side, like, well, they don't have to do that and they still get promotions. They don't have to do that and they still get the upside of the upper side of the pay range. But here's my rebuttal to that. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about me. I'm worried about making sure we get what we're supposed to get, whatever that looks like. And if you're not gonna go out there and be an entrepreneur on your own, you're gonna always get what you get. It's just it. And even as an entrepreneur, let's be clear, you're gonna get what they're willing to give. People don't want to talk about that part either. They want to say go be an entrepreneur. They want to go say do all these things. They want to say go get government contracts, and you can. But we already know, just from stats. Uh, let's see. Just the stats alone. In the fiscal year in 2023, Black-owned business received 9.9 billion in federal contracts, which is less than 1.3% of the total of 774 billion in contracts that year. This figure has fluctuated, with Black-owned small businesses receiving 1.6 of the eligible small business contracts in 2020 and 1.54% in 2024. Despite the efforts to increase opportunities, Black-owned businesses still receive a significantly smaller share of contracts compared to their representation among eligible businesses. So when someone tells me that you can go out here and do government contracting, I say yes. I say yes. But what they don't tell you is you're only getting pennies compared to what everyone else is getting. And the stats don't lie, right? Those are the stats. So how do we fight that? How do we get into that? How do we build more businesses around it? I honestly think the easiest way is being on the infrastructure side and forming yourself as a consultant and do 1099 work. Now, if you don't want to do the work, understand. But you can easily be the 1099 worker and get a small piece of the pie. When I say a small piece of the pie, I mean 500,000, a million, 2 million, just a small little piece, right? But imagine if you had 15 of y'all doing the same thing, just getting a small piece of the pie. Oh, I can't do that work, but I know somebody that can. Let me call up blah 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 blah. They do data analytics. Let me call up such and such. They do sticks. Let me call up such and such. They do security work. Let me call blah blah blah. You have a whole network of consultants that y'all all eat off of different parts of different contracts, and that's just on 1099. That's just me as I talk about this. Um let me talk about it from a different perspective. Um, let me see. No, that's not what I want. Um, Let me look at it right here. Um, so Eric Coffey, who I hadn't talked to really this year, not because I'm mad with him, I just hadn't talked to him. In his book, I mean, he talked about being the consultant and how that consultant can actually build wealth. And I'm trying to pull up his book, and I know I have his book. Um, it's not $1 million consulting. Is it the $1 billion playbook? That might have been his first book. It's GovCon Launch, but it may be in GovCon Launch. Let me look. Yeah, 5 ways. GovCon Launch, a complete guide to launching your government contracting business, and the 5 types of government contracting businesses you can start. And in here, it talks about a prime, a sub contractor, and a consultant. And I'll just read you the consultant piece right here. A government consultant is another way to participate in the marketplace. I would actually act as a third party salesperson or the business development person for a large firm, helping introduce them to government and writing the contracts in their name. It allowed me to get to know the agencies personally and provide value by bringing a larger, more reputable firm to the table. Fast forward 12, Fast forward 12 years, I am back to help large companies win contracts. I advise companies looking to land government contracts and tell them what they should be doing to give themselves the best chance to win bids. Mainly, I solicit agencies to see what opportunities exist and are available, right? That's just one way. The other one they got is the employee entrepreneur, right? And so these are just different ways that you could get in on the government contracting side to make money. And why you say you're talking about this? Because everything I showed you on that portfolio or that going up the ladder for Red Hat, you could do. You could utilize those skill sets and be a consultant for that. Um, and I like to always prove myself right and wrong, how you want to look at it. We can go here and type in OpenShift consultant. We can also do Red Hat Consultant. All right, so here, right here. And let me get rid of that and just do anywhere. All right, so OpenShift Consultant. I had pulled up one. Let me go back. I had it right there. So senior OpenShift consultant right here in at Deloitte, a specialist architecture, geo automation specialist, cyber defense and resilience, senior consultant, solutions architect. All these consultant roles are things that you can do to be in not just tech, but as an independent contractor as well, right? These are things that you can do, right? Um, let's go look up Red Hat Consultant. D, can you pull the screen up? No, there you go. All right, so Red Hat, we'll say, let's do Linux Consultant. Let's see what it pulls. All right, a principal consultant, remote, out of Florida, 150 to 160. Of course, they got network engineer. Let's see, what is PSC consultant? Now they want to hire you. Let's go back up here and just do job type, and let's do contract, and let's do update on that. All right, so a senior Red Hat Linux consultant, a system architect, a PKI person, and then it looks like it starts transferring over once we got past this save one here. Went to something else. Right. So, but off the rip in San Antonio, Cornerstone, they have a senior Red Hat 9 consultant. All right. Now you ask, this is how you guys got to start looking at when you start looking up jobs. You see Cornerstone, click on Cornerstone. Right. Right here on Indeed, they tell you their salaries. Hold on. I gotta log in. They tell you their salaries. So it's logging in. It's got me answering questions. I'm just gonna hit continue. All right, thank you. All right, so here are the salaries. Senior systems administrator, 186. Software engineer, cloud engineer, system administrator, 8 salaries reported 161. Now everybody else will tell y'all you don't get these jobs out here like this. Like they'll tell you that, right? I'm gonna blow it up so you can see for yourself. Right. And then they got some right here, senior Linux admin, senior systems admin, 87% above the national average. And then they got more jobs here. Now the other night I was looking and I came across a Linux system admin, and the range was from 200 to 500,000. 200 to 500. I was like, that's interesting. Right. But I'm just showing you when you go look, look at the companies that are offering it. All right, now go look. Now go take one step further, and then go Cornerstone Defense, and then look and see they're based out of Herndon, Virginia. Right, so they're up in Herndon, right, and then you need to look at their benefits, right. So let's go here and type in benefits. and the company size. So they have a 401k plan, da 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 da. So here the benefits overview. So right there, pulled it back for me. All right, so tuition reimbursement, lead generation program, life and disability, generous PTO, 401k. I'm looking to see about the benefits. You already know. Just so you know. All right. So they don't talk about their 401k. So if they don't say, because most people that tout, they're probably only doing 3%, 4%. When they do more than that, they talk about it. When you see 401k and it's just listed, they probably don't do nothing but 3%, 4%. If they do more than 3 or 4%, they talk about it. They were like, yeah, that's what we do. Yeah, we do that. But again, that's a consultant piece that they're looking at on this one. Again, Red Hat Ansible platform, OpenShift, Red Hat Satellite, uh, Red Hat Trusted Application Pipeline. Same old. Like this, and that's what they're just saying. A Red Hat Enterprise Linux consultant. They just want somebody who understands all the entire portfolio. Like I said, you could get paid off just the portfolio, like you can with Azure, just like you can with AWS or Google. You could get paid just doing that. So pick a lane, but I tell you, state infrastructure. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. So again, he gets paid. Um, they did try to humble him. We see that going on a lot. And you're gonna continue to see that as time goes on. All right. So I was listening to Wall Street Trapper talk about his visit to China. And I don't want to go into his visit to China. That's not why I want to transition into. I want to say that your skill sets that you have allow you to go to these different places so you can have different experiences. So take your skill sets and go overseas. Go overseas and work. Go overseas and take you don't think they use Linux nowhere but in the United States? It's the only place? No, you can go work in Costa Rica. You can go work over in Japan. But take your skill sets and take them other places, right? And you're like, well, where do we look up international jobs with our Red Hat stuff? Well, you can start with just Red Hat right now. Red Hat jobs, worldwide locations. Tokyo to Toronto, Beijing to Brisbane, Sydney to Stockholm. All right. You don't want to go that far, go work in Canada. All right. But here, India, Australia, China, Malaysia, Japan, Singapore, New Zealand, Thailand, Philippines, Hong Kong, Indonesia. Right? Say you want to go to Hong Kong. They're looking for a project manager in Hong Kong, remote in Hong Kong. Let's see what they're looking for in Australia. On-site consultant, associate consultant, IT support engineer, automation consultant. They got a lot of jobs in Sydney. They got 20 jobs. What's stopping you? You want to go to Singapore? Let's go to Singapore. OpenShift virtualization senior specialist solution architect, an AI specialist solution architect, a deal manager, a TAM, strategic key account manager, consulting architect. Red Hat OpenShift, right? So you can go overseas with OpenShift, right? I'm not seeing a degree requirement, right? So yeah, I'm not seeing none of that on here. Now let's ask this question. Where's this at? It says it's a hybrid. It's in Singapore. Don't say where it's at, but what's the cost of living to Singapore? Yep, we knew that. We knew it was genuinely higher. We knew that. This is often the most significant difference. Rent in Singapore generally higher than in most U.S. cities, with a studio or two-bedroom apartment in the city center costing thousands of U.S. dollars. All right, so here's a general idea that we can look at. So, in a meals are cheap, but let's go look at the transportation, roughly about the same. Roughly about the same. A Volkswagen Golf costs 180,000, whatever that is. It's got an S behind it and then a dollar sign. I'm not sure. And this is the United States. I'm not sure what this S is supposed to mean. Utility bills, sports and leisure, childcare, rent per month. Here we go. So it's cost. So you're probably gonna get a nice offer. Now the question is, what are they gonna offer for that job? And the question is that job gonna cover your rent? Outside the city center is 2,900. Inside the city center is 3,900. You probably would live outside the city center in a one bedroom and commute in. But if you wanted to live inside the city center, so we know off the rip we're gonna need at least 5,000 for to live, and I'm including utilities in that 5,000, right? So we automatically know that we're gonna have to make more than 5,000 a month after taxes to live, right? We already know that. We already know that you're probably gonna commute back and forth. So you gotta make a minimum just to be on the safe side. You're gonna need a minimum of at least 10 to 15,000 a month after taxes. Because I'm stating that you still need to have money to save and you still need to have money to for emergencies. So you're gonna have to factor that in. You're like, Tameika, I could just eat I could just eat salads and not have to worry about that. Yeah, but you're gonna want to travel. You're not gonna just want to just sit in Singapore. You're gonna want to travel. I know you are. Why? And you should. You're there. You're there. You're already there. Right? Here's Singapore right here. You mean to tell me you're not gonna want to travel nowhere over here? You ain't gonna want to go nowhere else? Now you might not. You might be like, girl, I'm in Singapore and I'm not going nowhere else. I don't know these people like that. I don't know these people like that. They may kidnap me. You can get to Australia. I don't know about you going into Nepal. You may want to explore Thailand a little bit more. You may hop over to South Africa, cross over the equator, claim that you've crossed over the equator, right? That's a big deal. You may want to hop over here to New Zealand, right? You may want to just explore this little area right here because you're already there. Yeah, you may. It's not a small area I'm talking about. I'm just saying you're right here. You can most definitely come this way. You can go this way, and you can go to Japan. So you're already, right there. See what I'm saying? But guess what? Your skill set can take you that far. Your skill set can take you to other places that you didn't even think that you would ever get a chance to see, that you would have to pay a vacation to see. Right? So they're saying salaries about 58. You're gonna need more than that. So here's the cost of living index, Singapore being the highest across everybody. But if you could go to Singapore and work on your Red Hat Linux stuff while you're there for a year or 2 years, and they will pay you enough to be there for a year or 2 years, would you do it? Now let's look at the job description. Design and implement modern platform architectures with strong understanding of Red Hat OpenShift, container orchestration, and automation of scale. Win the confidence of customers. Again, we talked about this Wednesday night in the video. Right, understanding the trust that the customer has to have in you. Understand the industry practices and Red Hat policies. Remain hands-on with development and implementation. Must be able to both make strategic business recommendations and influence project direction towards business goals. I talk about this a lot. You guys got to understand that this right here, win the confidence of the customer and must be able to make strategic business recommendations, will get you further along than your certifications. Right? Trusted advisor to technical Red Hat and customer resources. Trusted. Considers customer culture, organization in their design and delivery of their projects and brings attention to opportunities for improvement. Support technical pre-sale efforts, workshop, proof of concept. Strong experience in defining best practices. You're a G in this consulting architect. You're a G. You the go-to person. You own it. You might not can travel everywhere. What is their work culture? Are they 12 hours a day? Let me see. Let me see what they say on Reddit. I'm looking. All right, so here's what they say. Here's what some people say on Reddit. Blow it up some here. All right. So, how is the work culture for your company in Singapore? Right. I've been in workplaces for internships that everyone is nice to each other and things get done fast and where everyone can't stop talking to each other even after work. And some places where they're scared to even talk to the manager or the team day in and day out, avoiding meetings with him like the plague. I've gone to SMEs and I'm not sure what MNCs are. And for me, actually, the ones that are usually nice, SME startup or SMEs too, right? Even though I see a lot of posts in here hating SME work culture. My experience is probably too short to understand a good or bad work culture, but but what's your work culture like? All right, so we got 77 responses on this. Top management pretending to be nice and kind if you need help can escalate or ask questions and then ask a question they reply with a question or ask a question you go think about it yourself. All these in the midst of a heavy workload, right? um Manager supporting chill, doesn't get angry. My coworker are likewise chill, and there's no backstabbing. Some of friends are outside work. We laugh and talk, but also get work done. Most workers are parents, so they respect the no work after hours, and they're very understanding when it comes to, I guess, MC childcare leave, medical, I guess that's maternity leave or something like that. Most of the time, if someone needs, just everyone just replies, "Take care." Uh, is it an engineering company? Oddly enough, working the with MNCs, but it has to be an EU MNC because they really value work life balance. All right. Work like a dog, but everyone is nice. A lot of flexibility and autonomy, and mostly work from home. Most people stay back at night to work a night shift for no overtime pay. Worse still, they might get arrowed to go back to the office to work 24 hours and no pay at all. Bureaucracy is insane there. Want to borrow company equipment, need so much paperwork. Or still want to borrow sensitive equipment. I don't know what this is. Toxic. So I guess it depends on who you are. Now I don't know what it's gonna be like you working in Singapore and being a black person. That I don't know, and that you probably have to look on YouTube to see if someone that has seen that. But I think being black and working overseas is one thing. I think being black and working overseas and technical is another thing. I hope that makes sense to you all. But check out working overseas with your skill sets. You're gonna find yourself making a lot more money and having a lot more experiences and getting paid for your experiences, right? Getting paid for your certifications to go overseas to see things, to do things, right? Don't rule out going to Hawaii either. Don't rule out going to Hawaii to or work. Don't rule out going over to don't rule out going to places that are um that jobs or companies that send you overseas to work for short stints of time. Maybe you have to go over to Australia for 2 months or 3 months, or you may have to travel. Some of you may want to travel. Some jobs have 75% travel. That's how people rack up all those points, right? They get a traveling job. Put a one in the chat if you're still with us. So that's why I brought up America's spending trap exposed because he went to China. But imagine if you could take your skill sets overseas to work, right? Imagine you take your skill set overseas to work. All right, next one up. The US retirement system. I'm not gonna go dive off deep into this. It's only 12 minutes on this video, so we're gonna take a look at this video real quick, because I wanted you to see. I just want you to open up your eyes to other things. We have great relationships with the Netherlands, and we have a great we have a we have a great um not just a relationship with the Netherlands, but we also go to the Netherlands for different things. So just check out Working in Amsterdam. Booking.com is based out of Amsterdam, but here, check it out.
Facing insolvency by 2033.
If that trust fund runs short, benefits would have to be cut by around 20%.
At the same time, the U.S. retirement system received a C+ rating from the Mercer CFA Institute Global Pension Index in 2024.
The Netherlands actually took the top seed again in 2024. Australia was number 6 in our survey, but it's a C+, but that puts us middle of the pack. It means that the system is solid, designed well, but there is a significant risk. And if we don't clear that risk up, the system could be in some jeopardy.
Americans save dramatically more than in other countries.
But
the 401k system won't work. If Gen Z has some money in a retirement account, I will guarantee you that most of that money will be leaked out before retirement to buy a healthcare policy, to deal with an emergency room, to maybe buy a house, which is good, but that money won't be there for retirement, or all the other kind of life contingencies that happen, over that 40 years that you're working.
Countries around the world are raising their retirement ages as well as requiring mandatory contributions into personal retirement savings. Experts suggest this can help address modern problems, like people living longer and fewer workers paying into the system. Here's how the U.S. retirement system compares to the rest of the world, and what experts think it can do to improve. Let's consider some of the features that are often present in the A-grade systems. They are a net replacement rate, including both public and private pensions, of at least 65% for a median income earner with a full career. Private pension coverage of at least 80% of the working age population. Pension contributions that are being invested for the future of at least 12% of wages. And a well-governed and well-regulated private pension system.
I think is important to highlight the Netherlands that's in the top all the time. They have just passed rules in the last couple of years. They're moving from a defined benefit arrangement to a defined contribution.
A defined contribution plan, such as a 401k in the United States, works a little bit like a bucket. Workers decide how much to put in, how to invest it, and in some cases, employers add to the bucket as well. In the United States, participation in these plans is voluntary, and workers typically must choose to opt in. Usually, they can access all of the money upon retirement. A defined benefit plan, however, resembles a faucet. Workers pay into programs such as Social Security or employer-sponsored pensions and receive a steady monthly payment upon retirement, typically for life. The benefit plan provider sets the contribution amount and how the money is invested.
In the Netherlands, there's a mandatory contribution made. You can't opt out of it, either as an employer or an employee. So getting money in the US is a real challenge because it is a voluntary system. But if we're going to stay voluntary, then getting it easier to launch a plan and join a plan is the critical thing for us to focus on.
The Netherlands is not alone in requiring people to save.
I've worked in a number of countries, including Chile and Australia. Both of those have national mandatory defined contribution plans. Both of the systems, I think, have worked fairly well in being able to help people get in early, invest, and save toward retirement.
The thing that I like about Australia is that everyone's covered. It's hard to beat the everyone's covered provisions. They shifted from largely a defined benefit system to a defined contribution years ago. And so when they did that, the employers were happy to go to a defined contribution. And so the fact that they had mandatory contributions and the way they did it actually was slow. They started out at a low mandatory employer contribution and then they've risen over time.
Not everyone agrees with the Mercer CFA assessment.
Mercer is a pension consultant firm. They care about these little details of how retirement plans work. For instance, they penalize the US because you're not required to buy an annuity with your retirement savings. They penalize the US because we allow pre-retirement withdrawals and loans. All of that is fine. What they don't account for is Americans save dramatically more for retirement than do people in the typical developed country. Retirement plan assets in the US are 2.5 times the median of OECD countries, which means even if we have these picayune faults with our program, we're saving much, much more for retirement.
Other experts argue just looking at averages can be misleading.
The median level of retirement savings for baby boomers is 0, meaning most people have nothing. And if you just take the average, you take in the people who have a couple of $1 million. So we have the boomers moving into retirement, 5% have the amount of money they need.
For the US system, the thing that could change that grade,
and this is gets into what I was talking about too. So imagine those people who were in St. Louis who probably lived on a fixed income get hit by a tornado randomly and they don't have money to rebuild. What happens? Well, we already saw what's happening in California with those fires, right? Foreign investors have already came in and soaked up $65 million worth of those properties, right? Yeah. They came in and bought $65 million worth of land. Yep. Right. So now, what do you think happens in places like St. Louis? What do you think is going to happen? They're losing all them houses. Here's how. And let's talk about it. Let's be real about it. Let's talk about this, because this how it happens over generations, right? Let's say your grandmother or your grandfather or your grandparents lived in a home. Let's say they have 3 kids. Let's say 2 of them turn out to be okay and they're surviving on their own. But you got that one kid that live at the house with the parents. They ain't gonna never leave. We all know this story. They in and out of jail, depending on who they are, or they never get their lives together and don't go to jail. They just there. Don't really do nothing. Right? Now, the 2 that did okay in life, they got enough to take care of them. They don't really have enough to take care of their parents and that person who's in that house. Tornado comes through, 3 people out. Somebody's gotta take the grandparents and the other sibling. Right? God forbid that other sibling has a child or children and they live with them too. Now, in a situation like that, imagine the financial strain that creates. Hopefully the 2 that were doing good can do well, were doing well enough to have some extra cash flow. But we're now looking at your grandmother or your grandparents, the children and the grandchildren all are going to lose out on something that the grandparents could have left. But again, their mortgage might have been too high. Somebody don't have enough money to kick in to keep up with the actual mortgage. So they got to do a short sale. right? Or they got to refinance, or they got to let it go. So who misses out? Everybody. Everybody misses out. The children, the grandchildren, the memories. It's just memories. You can't you can't be like, when I was your age, I used to sit right there on those same steps. You can't do that. You sell, you come back in to that neighborhood, say 4 or 5 years later, $1 million home has been stood up, a mixed use development come in, new sidewalks, trees planted. Now you got a Starbucks and a Sprouts. It was a food desert before. Now Chipotle coming in. Now all these places are coming in, and now you sitting there looking like, damn. They ain't had that when I was there. They ain't had that when my grandmama was there. They will starve you out. Now here's the other flip side to home ownership as well too. The cost. The daily cost of home ownership. Lights, water, AC, HVAC, cutting grass, upkeep, maintenance, to roof or not to roof, to HVAC or not to HVAC. It's all the same. You get everything. Andrew, you said this is hold on, let me get to it. You said I was watching the Hurricane Katrina documentary on Netflix. Crazy how many of our people who didn't have the means to evacuate struggled on their own with no help from the government. They weren't gonna get any help. And I hope people realize that going forward that you're not gonna get any help from the government at all. It's a wrap. So you better have some money saved up. The only way you're gonna have money saved up is an inheritance. Live, I ain't gonna say live below your means. Make enough money where you can save, live within your means, and keep pushing. Um, Vicky, you said this is one way we lose our legacies. We don't have the buffer or the savings or the insurance or the capital. That's what I'm saying. The everything I have shown you in an indirect way are things that humble you indirectly, if you think about it. But the question now becomes is, what can your skill sets get you so you are not in these predicaments? And that's what I'm showing. Should you go overseas? Should you look at living? Should you look at living here in the United States? Maybe you got some outlet. Maybe you got somewhere else to go. Should you travel? Right? Just point it out there. Let your skill set speak for you. All right. Now this one I thought was just interesting.
Millions of Americans struggling with ballooning prices.
Rents are too high, childcare is too high.
There are many American families that are a simple root canal away from financial disaster.
More American families are drowning in debt. US household debt now at $17.94 trillion.
Renita is one of the 60% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. She works full-time to provide for her 4-year-old son. He has a developmental disorder, so he has therapy 4 times a week and needs extra care in general.
If you're in a single income household, like the odds are kind of stacked against you at that point.
These days, when Renita is short on cash, she's been using Earnin, one of these new banking apps that call themselves Earned Wage Access. and they've got a pretty appealing pitch.
Did you go to work today? Probably. Did you get paid for the work you did today? Probably not. You won't see that money till Friday, right?
Stop waiting for payday. With Earnin, you can get paid as you work.
I can get you up to $500 of your future money now.
I just partnered up with Dave.
They've got ads with celebs like Jason Derulo and flashy investors like Mark Cuban. They've got Democratic lawmaker support and lobbyists who sound like Bernie Sanders.
Cost of living has skyrocketed across the country.
2/3 of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Paycheck to paycheck.
They say they're fighting for the underdogs, like David slaying Goliath, Goliath being predatory big banks. But people who have actually used these apps have a different take.
That should be illegal.
I feel deceived by it. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane.
This is not some scrappy fintech startup scene. This is a industry that's backed by billionaires like Larry Ellison and Mark Andreessen to make profits off people who are struggling.
Today, I'm going to show you how EWA apps can make life feel like a series of traps. And even if you don't use these apps, they could affect you too. Because with the help of lawmakers and the nation's largest employers, earned wage access is perpetuating some of the most unstable parts of our economic system. And with one wrong move, the whole thing could collapse. Here's how it works. Renita has connected her bank account to Earnin.
If I want to borrow money, it tells me like how much I can cash out.
In Earnin language, that amount is her earnings, and it's determined by an algorithm.
You spin the little wheel and then you choose to transfer out.
Wait, what's that?
So yeah, it says tip what you think is fair. So they're asking for a tip.
Do you ever
No, I do not.
What do you think about this app asking you for a tip?
The audacity. I'm here to borrow money. I don't have any to give you.
Right. Okay, surely nobody tips their banking app, right? But the data shows that the apps receive tips 73% of the time. This is because they're very manipulative. At one point, Earnin made you click 13 times to opt out of tipping. And the Dave app messes with your emotions, telling you your tip is going towards helping hungry children. As you decrease the tip amount, you make the little animated child sad by taking her food away. But an FTC investigation found that for each percentage point of a tip, Dave only donates 10 cents. So if I tip 10% on a $100 advance, my tip is $10, but only $1 of that is going towards feeding hungry kids. That's not enough for 10 healthy meals, and the other $9, those Dave pockets. In SEC filings, Dave reported making $68 million from tips last year. And according to Earnin,
about 40% of our revenue is tips.
So zero tip, and
No, the same wheel. Yeah.
Zero. So after opting out of
So I'm just showing you. Everything around you need to watch. We've seen it, right? We've seen the coverage, the media coverage of the tornado. We've seen the media coverage of even with Katrina. We've seen the help for assistance and so forth. We've seen the coverage of your education. Nobody wants to believe me. I don't care what they talking about. They keep telling y'all don't go get a degree, that the degree ain't gonna matter. But the people that all work at OpenAI, all are PhDs, and they offering them $100 million for a sign-on bonus. They now offering you no $100 million without no degree for a sign-on bonus. Bet that I put my whole paycheck on that. They ain't offering you no $100 million and you don't have no degree for a sign-on bonus. And where you gonna go to learn AI and do research with AI unless you went to a school? The other ways is showing you how to use AI, how to be a consumer. maybe develop an LLM, maybe. But they telling y'all go get a trade. Well, who owns the company for you to work in that trade? Why they not telling you to go be an owner? Why they not telling you to go look at being a owner of an electrical company and then going and putting together a program where you can get people trained up in your program and then have a company in it? Why they telling you to be the worker bee? You gotta listen to what they're saying. Why they telling you that? Why they telling you to go get the trade? Why they not telling you to go get? Why they not telling you to go be the owner of the HVAC company? Why they not telling you to learn how to help build out data centers so you can be part of the private equity firms to help build out the data centers or own the data centers? Why they not telling you that? Why they telling you to go help build them? Why they not telling you to own the materials that help build the data centers? Who owns the materials that help build the data centers? Clock that T. What materials are they using to build the data centers, and how you can be the owner of the materials that they're using to build the data center? No. They're not telling you that. They're telling you go get your HVAC, go get your electrical, and you're gonna be a millionaire in 30 years because you're gonna go in there and work hard. Well, why I gotta wait 30? Why I can't do it in 10? Why they not telling you to go own the dump trucks that they gotta pick up the materials from there? Go buy the dump trucks. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was saying, he's like, I got 3 dump trucks and I don't even know how to turn them on or work them. I ain't never did it. Why they not telling you that part? That's the problem that I have with the conversation is I can guarantee you in a private equity firm that no one in there knows anything about building out a laundromat. But I guarantee you they own them. Gotta switch up the mindset. I'm just showing you how to get to your money really quickly. Stay low for 10 years. If you can start out making 100 to 200 to 300,000, if you can start out making 90,000 and in 2 years, 3 years you make 200,000 and you stay down for 10 years after that making 200,000 and above, there's no way you won't be a millionaire. Again, you got to remember you're making 200,000 for 10 years. Are you going to have lifestyle creep? Absolutely. 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 You just are. You can't you're not going you can't tell me that you're not going to have lifestyle creep, because you can't tell me that you know what? Today I'm not going to eat flank steak anymore. I'm going to get me a ribeye. You're going to do it. It's just what it is. It's okay. I think we have to be okay with getting it in moderation and what that looks like. Right? But they're going to tell you you don't need no degree. Okay. Let's look at this. Let's revisit this in another year, maybe 2. And you tell me what the stats are on the Harvards and the Yales and the Ivy League schools, and are they graduating? Because the quant engineers, best believe those quant engineers are graduating with degrees.
In the banking algorithm, Renita has 2 options to receive her cash. If she selects this free version, the money could take a day or 2 to hit her bank account. With the lightning speed option, she can get it right away, but there's a transaction fee between $4 and $6. And then once you click that, then
yep,
the transaction.
that completes it. Yep.
The next time Renita gets her paycheck, Earnin automatically takes back the money she withdrew plus any fees. So when I heard this, I was kind of like, okay, this just sounds like a payday loan where you borrow a few $100s and pay it back with your next paycheck with lots of interest, of course.
What are the interest rates? Damn, I thought that was the year of establishment.
But all of the EWA app users I talked to said they would never consider taking out a payday loan.
I grew up seeing people use them, and the energy is already kind of like down, feels kind of loan sharky. They're always in buildings that are not well kept, abandoned shopping malls.
The apps, on the other hand, have bright colors and clean design. You can download them right from Apple's App Store and on Google Play. That's gotta mean something, right? They're sending you puppy videos on Snapchat, they've got cuddly mascots, and they've got paid influencers on Instagram and TikTok that reassure you that it's totally not alone because
no late fees, no credit checks, and no interest.
It's your own money, just earlier.
And if you don't see their ads on social media or TV, you may see them at work.
It was in the teacher's bathroom, next to the OSHA signs.
Lee saw an ad for an app called Daily Pay at the school they worked at in Kansas. Daily Pay is one of the EWA companies that partners with big corporations like Amazon, Target, and McDonald's to offer paycheck advances as a benefit, like PTO or health insurance. So Lee signed up, the school turned over their payroll information to Daily Pay, and soon Lee could start withdrawing money from their paycheck whenever they wanted.
I have money in my account before payday, right? It's almost like endorphins.
Like Renita, Lee grew up watching their parents take out payday loans and saw how financially damaging that was.
But obviously, even with that, like, I fell for this. I didn't see it as a loan. You're not like signing stuff. You know, you're not sitting and reading through a loan agreement. It's just like, it's instant, it's fast, and it seems cheap.
It seems cheap. A lot of people I spoke to said that exact thing, and I decided to find out if it was true. If we want to compare two loans to see which one will end up being cheaper, we can't just look at the simple interest rate. That won't give you the full picture. What you want to do is calculate each loan's APR, or annual percentage rate. I know, this equation looks scary, but don't worry, there are online calculators where you just plug in your numbers and they'll do this math for you. APR is like the price of a loan. It takes into account what you'll pay in interest and in fees and the number of days you have to repay. The more time you have to repay the loan, the lower the...
Now, how many people have taken out payday loans? And when they say EWA, they're talking about earned wage access, just for clarification.
Of the loan. So let's say you need $100 now. If you took that as a payday loan, that would likely cost you $15 in fees, and it'd be due back in 2 weeks, 14 days. The APR would be 391%. That's expensive. Credit card cash advances usually top out around 36%. So what if you took that $100 out from Earnin instead? Well, Renita actually did that yesterday, and I asked her to calculate her APR. Her only fee was that small lightning transfer fee of $3.99. But she's going to get her paycheck tomorrow, and even if she needs the money for something else, Earnin will take back what she owes right away. So she only has 1 day to repay, which means her APR is
1,456.35%. Insane. That's a lot. My mind is blown. Jesus Christ.
A study conducted by California regulators found that the average APR for companies like Earnin is 334%. But these calculations don't include all the random hidden charges these apps can have, like subscription fees.
I don't care how small the fee is. They're getting it right back the next day. That should be illegal.
Yes, quadruple digit interest rates should be illegal. So why aren't they? Well, Interest rates are regulated on a state-by-state basis. I'm currently in New York, where the APR on small loans is 25%. That effectively bans payday loans. Their business model just isn't as profitable without high fees and interest rates, so they don't operate here. But EWA companies do, because of an extremely dumb loophole. Lending laws technically only apply to loans.
These are not loans. EWA is access to earned wages, not a loan.
We are advancing money and getting paid back.
Right, guys?
So again, another way to get money up out of you. Again, own the app. Again, be the app. Right? Be the app. Engineering cannabis, yeah, I saw that. The $10 million signing bonus. Yep. I don't think this is coming up. Oh, it is. I thought it was going away. So this guy said, I quit Amazon for a $400,000 AI job offer from Meta at 2022. Here's how I got into the industry and my advice for others. All right, let's look at his name. All right, here. Let me go look him up. He's on LinkedIn. Just want you to see. He is on LinkedIn. He was previously at AWS. I'm going to make the assumption that he graduated from UC San Diego. ASML, I know them. Yep. So he got his degree, a Master of Science in Computer Science, and the University of California, Santa Cruz. And see, he was in high school from 2016 to 2020. We're in 2025, and he makes $400,000. But don't go get the degree though. Go learn a trade. Go learn how to do HVAC. Go learn how to look. And solid steps to wealth will tell you what it take to make 400,000. Right? I'm just showing you. Let's go look at what he said. I started my master's program in 2022 around the time ChatGPT was released. The advancement of AI and AI tools made it a very competitive field, and many people are still trying to get in. It took me 1 year to get my undergraduate degree because I had college credits from classes I took in high school. Then I worked full-time as an engineer while doing my master's in AI. After my master's, I landed a role at Amazon where I worked for 9 months as a machine learning and software engineer. While I was at Amazon, I saw Meta doing a ton of cool machine learning things. When interesting roles came up, I just applied on their website or LinkedIn. Though I learned a lot at Amazon, I just thought there was more interesting work going on at Meta. In June, I left to join Meta as a machine learning software engineer for a total compensation of $400,000. I was really excited about it, and I knew I wanted to take the job as soon as I got the offer. Here's my advice for breaking into the field: understand machine learning and its shifts. Machine learning has shifted so much; it's used to be a lot more acceptable to just look to use classical techniques, which rely on humans to make decisions about data representations. Now the focus is on deep learning, which taps into artificial neural networks to automatically learn features from raw data. Try to get a tech internship while in college. Highlight experience of over your projects on your resume. Big Tech has a very standardized interview process. Avoid the common mistakes. Don't worry about the pay when you first enter in machine learning, and that's it. He wouldn't have got a degree, studied, learned, studied the environment, learned what he needed to learn, and he bounced. That's really what that is. HRT Investments is paying $700K for data science, but you need a degree. Yep. You said how would I get into ASML in Connecticut? ASML is you do know that's a company, right? I just want you to realize that. Right. So it's two companies I'm gonna bring up. MRSL and ASML. MSRL, they're based out of Sarasota, Florida. I just hit search for jobs here. Here are the jobs that they have right now. Look a little bit more. AI software engineer entry level for React communications and signal processing, full stack React scientists and software. So they deal with edge nodes. They deal with edge devices really, and radio signals and waves. All right, signals and waves. That's what this company for. So that's why you see signal processing and so forth. If you go look at this full stack, not that one. If you look at let's go here and let's pull up the full stack one. And blow up a little bit more. So this full stack, computer science, Python background, vertical scaling, CI/CD, Kubernetes, ETL, REST interfaces, WebSockets, creating and editing Helm charts, deploying and working with Argo CD and workflows, creating GitLab CIs, familiar with S3 and MinIO, publishing and subscriber queues with RabbitMQ and Kafka. This job right here, this company does 25% to your 401k. Small company, not really huge, but at least you have an idea of what they do. They're not touting it on their website, but I know because I used to work with them. Right? MSRL. Right? You asked about ASML. Which is this company here. Semiconductor. I'm invested in them. So go look at careers and search jobs. And then let's look at design and engineering and infrastructure. Let's look at IT. And then they break it down by electrical engineering, software, so forth and so on. Then they also break it down if you want to go by degree. All right, so here, senior cloud engineer. It's out of Connecticut. So this cloud engineer, Python, computer science, 10% travel. Security and storage management, VMs. Look like they're doing VMs. I'm gonna keep going, but it don't look like that. Yeah, look like they're doing Linux, Splunk, VMs, Azure, some CI/CD, Perl. Yeah, this is what you need to know right here. Some Confluence. That's it. This is how you get in. You asked. Here you go. This is how you get in. And they say a cloud engineer. They said a senior cloud engineer. My assumption is you're pushing stuff you're using Argo workflows to push out to something on Azure or Google. Again, they got some type of patching and release. You're doing your stuff out of Jira and Confluence. Using monitoring to with Splunk, your ticketing system. The tickets that's going to arrive to you come from ServiceNow, and they're using Linux and HP hardware and VMware. You can go get this job now. Now let's look at ASML benefits. Okay, so they got sick time, gym on site. The employer contributes $1,000 to your HSA. They got pet insurance. They got a relocation. They got the employee stock purchase program allows contributions up to 10% of the base salary and 10% discount on purchase price of stock. All right, so let's look. It says employee stock purchase program offering a 20% employer contribution. So they do 20%. And you get 38 days of flexible work holiday. Boom, there you go. Go apply. Start looking at ASML. Yeah, ASML and MSRL. That's what we do on Tech Stocks and Jobs. All right. So he quit. He jumped ship. You saw his background. I just wanted to show you that. Boeing, the director makes his first stock purchase. I'm not subscribed to the Wall Street Journal on Safari. Intel receives $5.7 billion in CHIPS Act grant under the deal with President Trump as the Team Blue bets big on its foundry division. So $5.7 billion over to Intel. And then Samsung reportedly looking to partner with Intel in the chip industry to leverage President Trump's personal support for Team Blue. So Samsung is probably going to be doing some hiring, so is Intel. Right? Connecting the dots. Google eliminated 35% of its managers overseeing small teams in the past year. Stay technical as much as possible. I said that every year, won't change. Stay technical. That's the lesson out of that. Who's the next one on the list that everybody is looking at? Broadcom. There's been heavy investment in Broadcom. Go put them on your watch list and follow them. Just going down my article line and go read into them. Consulting firms face a talent exodus as senior leaders seek more influence and a faster pace. Again, places like Deloitte and all of them, they may move too slow and talent gets bored. And so they go and get the big money. I ain't got to sit here with you when I can go out here and get big money. And they're saying this across the industry. Here's the problem that the industry is going to have, especially on the federal side and on the GovTech side. You can't keep paying people $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 when they can go make $300,000, $400,000. It just doesn't work that way. You're gonna have to incentivize a lot more, and that's a lot less than what people are willing to take. Now, some people are going to play the long game, and I say play the long game. They're gonna say, I'm okay with making my 2% raise, 100,000 here, 110,000 next year, 115, 117,000 after that. I'm okay with playing the long game. They're okay with that. They form relationships, they get husbands and wives, children, and all of that. They have whole families working at Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, GDIT. They have whole families. They have a history of whole families working there. That's what they do. Now, that works if all y'all live in the same house. Imagine it's 4 y'all that work at GDIT, and each one of y'all average $150,000, and you all live in one big house. But that's not how we operate. It is, I make 150, you make it 150. We're all gonna go get our own houses. We're all gonna go get our own places or move into whatever. But imagine if you had a household of 150 with 4 people in it at 150 a pop. Again, we always like, oh, I gotta have my space. How my girlfriend gonna come over? How my boyfriend gonna come over? They don't. You go to their house. Y'all go get your own room. Right? So imagine if you got a household like that. What's that? 4 people at 300, 600,000, and y'all stay down like that for, I don't know, 5 years. Imagine how much money you save. And you don't have to live in a house where y'all paying $10,000 a month for a mortgage. You don't have to do that. You can stay in a house where y'all paying 3 to 5 a month, or just enough to cover some one person can cover the mortgage. So if all y'all got laid off at the same time, one person can still cover the mortgage. Right? Just thinking outside the box there. But again, seeing leaders seek more influence and a faster pace. Major professional services firms are losing top talent to mid-sized firms and startup. You can't pay them. You can't keep up with the pay. Right? First of its kind study says AI is starting to have a significant and disproportionate impact on entry-level workers in the United States. And I think learning your Linux, your RHCE, and OpenShift, I think you avoid this. You don't have that problem. You'll be an entry worker, no doubt, but you'll be highly skilled. Right? I think in infrastructure, that's how you get by. My personal thoughts. For everyone else that's coming out with computer science degrees and no Linux skills, no skills outside of what they got you in college, you never uploaded nothing to GitLab, you don't know what Kubernetes is, you've never seen that before, you don't get anywhere. You're gonna struggle. Unless you're really, really good and you got good networks. HashiCorp CEO departs. He's a cool guy. Oh, my article gone. Article gone. Awesome. Taco Bell rethinks AI drive-through after a man goes into the drive-through and orders 18,000 orders. Taco Bell is rethinking and blow it up AI to power drive-through restaurants in the U.S. after comical videos of tech making mistakes were viewed millions of times. One clip, a customer seemingly crashed the system by ordering 18,000 cups of water, while in another, a person got increasingly angry at AI, repeatedly asked him to add more drinks to his order. Since 2023, the fast food chain has introduced technology to over 500 of its locations, but AI seems to have served up the complete opposite. Taco Bell Digital Chief Technology Officer Dane Matthews told the Wall Street Journal The deploying the voice AI has had its challenges. Sometimes it lets me down, but sometimes it really surprises me. He said the firm was learning a lot, but we would now think carefully about where AI is where AI is going forwards, including not using it at drive-throughs. In particular, Mr. Matthews said there are times when humans are better placed to take orders, especially when the restaurants get busy. Uh, will help coach teams on when to use the voice and when it's better to monitor or to step in. The issues have been building up online on disgruntled customers taking to social media to complain about the servers by pointing out glitches and issues. Great learning experience. Roll it out and let people teach you all that. Erica, you said that's all I need. I already have my AZ 900 and want to go into Linux. So yeah, add Linux to that. And RCSA, RC, OpenShift, probably some advanced stuff on OpenShift. But I mean, it's not nothing you can't do within a year. But you got to be focused on it. Like I said, you can't go outside. Prediction: this AI company will redefine cloud infrastructure by 2030. Alphabet has an edge computing given its vertical integration in both hardware. So they're talking about Google. It's going to redefine cloud infrastructure by 2030. It's what they're saying. It's what they're touting with AI and so forth. Right? We'll see. Lowe's. Lowe's confirms its plans to buy the chain to buy a chain with 370 locations for 8.8 billion. What are they buying? They're buying the supply chain that supplies the Lowe's, that supplies probably Home Depot as well. So they're putting a corner lock on the whole entire supply chain, right? This part is going to be important in the race with Lowe's and Home Depot, right? Meta AI reportedly jumping ship following a $1 billion hiring spree. Like I said, people are not gonna stay around if you offering $100 million for a sign-on bonus. You ain't that damn dedicated to the job. Trust. Yeah. She says it was recently reported that Meta will be putting a freeze on new AI hires after its summer-long $1 billion recruitment drive. Since most employees had been with companies for years, we wish them the best, said a spokesperson. Listen, man, if you offer me $100 million and I gotta stay there for 5 years, all right. And this is what I mean too, right? When you in amongst other folks that are doing the same thing that you're doing, no one cares that you drove up in your GT3. They don't care because they know that you got the money to do it. That's the thing. Like, we all work in the same place. So yeah, I got the money to do it. What's the problem? You I know your pay. I know you probably at E9. So I know you probably getting somewhere about 400,000-500,000. You gonna get it. You got a sign on bonus. You got a bonus coming up. You getting paid. You got your RSUs. Nobody's tripping off of that. We the only ones that be tripping off. Can't let them know what you got. Can't let them see this. I ain't got time for that. All right. The U.S. Army awards RTX 1.7 billion for new missile defense radar production. So what does that mean? The U.S. Army awarded Raytheon, blood it up for him, $1.7 billion contract to produce new missile sensor and replace the Patriot system radar, according to an August 28 Pentagon contract. This contract modification allows company to build low rate, modern lower tier air and missile defenses. The new award brings the cumulative total to 3.8 billion. It was 437.5 million for the fiscal year 2025 for the Army missile procurement funds and 397 for foreign military sales. This low rate production is estimated to go through 2029. We're in 2025, so that gives you 4 years on this contract. So if somebody's looking for where work is at, I will go look at RTX and see where do they need help at, and what do they need help with. Somebody's got to build somebody's got to put this infrastructure together. Somebody got to build the code, and somebody got to maintain the infrastructure and maintain the code. There you go. All right. All right. So drone tech firms are powering up the defense industry in the next chapter. So we're talking about drone technology. You guys are wondering like what's next, how things are gonna go. Here we go. UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles are no longer a nascent sector. They are now platforms of power. So you want to look at platforms for drones and mobilizing things. That's where you want to start looking at. That is a big thing. Many of the recent requests for proposals from the DIU and other agencies are designed to accelerate this shift, allowing new vendors to onboard more quickly and demonstrate short trial projects, improve real-time world viability. So again, you wondering where the money is at? There you go. There's another place where money is at. Follow the breadcrumbs. All right, a CEO predict AI will rival humans in 5 years. Shark Tank Daniel Lubitsky tells Gen Z to get off of TikTok and go study Greek philosophers to get ahead. Huh? Say what now? So you don't want me to study computer science. You want me to go to study Greek philosophers. I'll let you be the judge of that. I was earning $300,000 at Google and saving for early retirement. Then I quit for a more flexible life. It changed how I view success. Again, I was earning $300,000. Now we don't know how long he was earning $300,000. Then he quit and he decided to go explore the world. These headlines be having y'all confused. Like he got $300,000. He worked in it for 6 months and then he's like he bounced. Nah, he was set up for early retirement. And see, I started working in Google in December 2021 as a software engineer in New York. I spent 3.5 years there and earned up to $326,000 in total compensation before taxes. But I became delusional with corporate life, and at the age of 27, I quit and became a creator and an entrepreneur. He had a little nest egg to bounce off of and a plan, but he did it for 3.5 years. 3.5 years, right? So I just wanted to show you all how the media is spinning stuff for you all, and also how you all need to start looking at things for yourself in terms of what is your plan, and how many rooms you gonna walk in and people gonna keep humbling you to the point where you got to stand up and stick up for yourself and make the right career decision, make the right move. And every move you make ain't gonna always be right. Sometimes you'll make a wrong move, but how do you bounce back? How do you put money in the bank so that you can bounce back? Moves cost. Career changes cost. Loss of career cost. Looking for a job cost. So I'm just pointing out to you all what you see in the media and always don't always be true, but have a plan. And I've shown you where money is flowing. I've shown you how to make your plan. Now you just need to go execute. I can't do it for you. All right, y'all. Y'all be safe.